What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another movie review. This time we are talking about the new release Challengers from director, and I gotta look it up how to say it because it is a tough name, Luca Guadagnino. Guadagnino? One of those is probably right. It's the new Zendaya movie, okay? Tennis. You've probably seen a million trailers for it. It's been like pumped into your TVs constantly. She plays a girl named Tashi, former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband into a champion. But to overcome a losing streak, he needs to face his ex best friend and Tashi's ex boyfriend. So that's the synopsis. Other two actors in it, Mike Feist, a lot of tough names in this, and Josh O'Connor. Really, Mike Feist was the only one that I knew because he was in the West Side Story remake that came out a few years ago. I had never seen Josh O'Connor in anything. And really, those are the three main people in the movie. Everyone else is just like a side character and really doesn't get any um, like lines, truthfully. But Zendaya is the draw here. And let me tell you, allow me to be a guy here for a second. What a woman. All right. And we'll move past that. Um, I know this movie was marketed as some kind of like sexy, like erotic, whatever. I would say that's mostly not true. Okay. There are a couple of parts that start to go in that direction and it cuts away. Okay. So if you're worried about that, don't be. I know the trailer makes it seem like that. It it toes that line and then it backs off. Okay. Well, just I wanted to get that out of the way first, and then so it's a good movie. Okay, like there's nothing like there's a little bit of nudity, but like that's fine. I mean, whatever. Um, but it's not anything close to like something like Poor Things that came out late last year. There's sex all in that movie. There's like no sex in this movie. So if you're worried about that, don't be. This movie was very, very good, and I love sports movies, and I think tennis is a great sports subject for a sports movie because I think like baseball, tennis, and golf are like the three best that you can do. Football and basketball just don't seem to work for some reason. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. But for some reason, like kind of like the for tennis and golf, like the individuality of those types, and then baseball just seems to work. Maybe it's just because of the slower pace, but just for whatever reason, like those three come to mind when I'm talking about sports movies and like which sports work and which don't. So I enjoyed the tennis that was on the screen looked great, and it really like the backdrop for this movie. Like the story is nothing like super complicated. Like it's a love triangle with a backdrop of tennis. Like that's it. It's like you don't have to like rack your brain. It's not a Christopher Nolan movie. But like, they're jumping back and forth between like flashbacks and current, time. And so the current time is this one tennis match. And I was curious how they were going to do that going into it. And I thought that that part was probably the most impressive outside of maybe like the technical elements that I geek over all the time. But the so that like the tennis match that is going on throughout the entire movie between the two guys is kind of like a juxtaposition with how their relationship, plural, with Zendaya's character in the past went. So to explain that a little bit further, in the past, when one of them was dating or having their relationship go really well in like the past, it flipped back to the tennis match and they were the one that was winning. And there was a little score bug in the bottom left corner and it would show who's winning. And I finally picked up on that, like, right at the end of the first act of the movie. And it got my movie nerd like senses really in a tizzy. And I was like, ooh, that's really cool. Um, so I really enjoyed like catching on to that throughout the entirety of the film. So that was just one thing that I wanted to throw in, because like if you're just like looking for like a really cool story, like it's just a normal story. It's nothing you haven't seen it before. But I do think when a director and a writer is able to kind of throw that in there, like that's what people like should go to watch this movie for, like something cool like that. Other things, cinematography was awesome. Okay. Anytime there was tennis going on, there were some of the coolest shots that I've seen in a while. Like tennis balls coming straight at your face. I mean, I hate 3D. I think 3D is stupid. Maybe I want to see this in 3D, because a tennis ball coming straight at your face might be cool. There was another part right at the end where it was like you're getting POV shots of the ball. I don't even know how you do that, but that was pretty cool. It almost turned into like a Wii tennis match, which is like really close. Like the guys really close together and just like, it was cool. And like a lot of the editing, like there were a couple scenes where two of the characters were talking to each other and you could only see one of them at a time. That gets me going. Like, and it just, there you could tell that there was intentionality behind those. Like you're only supposed to see this character talking, and like it was done, like you could tell that they were doing that on purpose, and like I appreciated that, so really good cinematography. And then the other thing I wanted to hit on was the acting, and I kind of already touched on it, but all three of them, like Zendaya, Mike Weiss, and Josh O'Connor, like they had such great chemistry together, and that was needed for this, because all three of them, whether they were talking to in the like all three of them together or just a combination of two of them at the same time, like they were the ones driving the story. Like there were no other characters. And when you have that happen, like when you don't have a big ensemble cast, like they have to have chemistry together, otherwise it just falls apart. And so I thought they nailed it. I thought this movie was brilliantly directed. The writing was awesome. I'm giving it an 88 out of 100, and that's not like an indictment on anything. Like that's a great score for this movie. It's my second favorite movie of the year so far. So go see Challengers. It's awesome. It's probably gonna end up as one of my favorites of the year, truthfully. So yeah, Challengers, 88 out of 100. Definitely worth seeing in theaters.